computer. Okay, I can get my reminder off the thing, and looks like we got 2 people here so far. If you come in, give us a heart so we know you're here. And let me just give a couple of quick updates, and then I'll roll the show out and give people a little bit of time to come in. So we're going through, quite a bit after 90 days of doing this, and we're reorganizing. One of the things we're doing is, and I'm going to be talking about it a lot. I'm going to be coming out on our old social media platforms and probably almost daily, if not daily, to tell people what we're doing. But basically, what we want to do is develop the number one priority. I mean, the social community and all that stuff is, like I've said all along, it's gravy. The main priority is the content. And so what we're looking to do is to develop programming. Our first goal is to get 40 hours a week of programming that will be handheld accessible, with
Fantastic.
replays, with comments on the replays, like you see on YouTube. And what we're looking for is, I'm going to do myself probably about 20 to 24 hours a week. Got a couple other people committed to do another 3 or 4 hours a week. We want to get it up to 40. And then when you come to the site and you see the logo, the video logo, or like where you're watching this now, that's what you'll see. Like, so with the handheld, you'll be able to click Soulogy and just see what's playing. So even though we're going to do 40 hours a week, so even though we're going to do 40 hours a week of programming of let's just say like a channel lineup, like a show lineup, the rest of the time, what it's going to be filled with is replays, excerpts, and stuff like that. So it'll all be from the database that we're developing, and so they'll have 24 hours a day. I've been talking about it for 5 or 6
Wow.
years. So we'll see.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
that's kind of, and then we're going to keep working on the rest of it. So we kind of got 2 initiatives going, but we're not here to talk about that today. Hello, Canada, Valerie. And we'll have to talk to Valerie soon. We've got a new friend in the house, Jill Butler. And I was, I remember reading a book years ago. I'm not really sure what it was. I think it was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think it was the first book I ever picked up as I, at 22, started to delve into what we are delve into. And in that book, he said, if you want, he was talking energy, but he just wasn't saying it that way. He said, if you want to develop really good energy in your life, for 7 days, do something for somebody without expectation. And I always remember that. And I always thought to myself, why 7 days? Why not just do it every day? So I was going through, and I tried to do that on a personal level for years and years with Soulogy. And so I was going through, I was sharing posts out because I share the posts from the memories every day, and then a couple announcements or whatever. And I scan a little bit, not too much. But I happened to see that you put up a post, and you were saying, I want to start doing lives and on YouTube, and you have to get to 50 subscribers. And I remember the days, when that, when I was in the same boat. We didn't actually really get serious about YouTube until 2019, I think. And like we had 400 people. I remember in the January of 2019. I think there's like 14,000 now,
Wow.
but I remember those days. And so, I saw that, I saw your energy. And I said, okay, I'm going to see if she wants to come out. So thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honor us with your presence. I'm looking forward to getting to know you in front of our friends, Soulogy style. But yeah,
I appreciate it a lot. It's been the energy is told me that I can't be in the background anymore.
yeah,
I can't be behind closed doors anymore. And the things that I work with, angelics and my guides, are like, you need to start doing Facebook Lives. You need to start getting out there, and you need to start a YouTube page. And about 10 years ago, I had actually started a YouTube page, and I did one video, and then I stopped because I wasn't supposed to do it then. And then just recently, I've been doing lives, and I just feel like it's really, really important to get out the idea and the understanding of vulnerability, and to take yourself out of your comfort zones. I know you know this, Todd. Like, I've watched your work for over 5 years. So I know I've seen your whole progress in your like evolution.
Mm,
Um, one of the people that I used to watch the most that you used to have on is Franco.
yeah.
And he was exceptional. Definitely feel like he's, part of my soul tribe. And I really feel like now, like, we really have to step up to the plate. All of those that are doing the work, we have to step out into, into bigger places and start helping people and holding people up. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you affording me, the platform to step up in a big way really quickly. I appreciate that opportunity because you've been grinding this for a long time, and I don't think people realize how much work and dedication and time. And I know you don't want a pat on the back, but I'm going to give you one anyway.
Mm,
You really, you and Morgan and all the people that you've had come on have really like shifted the consciousness in a lot of ways. um so
mm.
I want to take a moment just to thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we all have to learn to receive compliments and own up to what we are. I mean, I've had a habit of kind of playing or dumbing down, purposely. When I got
Mhm.
into this, especially in the first couple of thousand shows, at least, just because I didn't want to take away from the guest, and kind of represent the audience on a universal level, so I could ask questions that I knew a lot of the answers to, you might say, but I just think it's important, what you're saying, because it's really the same spirit. I would say it's like I would say that the 10 years of the Mayan thing that ended last December 21st was kind of like the first half. And now we're in the second half, and the atmosphere is much more accommodating and reciprocating for us. And I think you represent, and I really, uh, find that as we go on, the whole masculine, feminine, male, female thing is getting old. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't mean that in a bad way. So I just want to preface this comment like that. But I believe you represent, and it's pretty obvious, it's not rocket science. You represent uh, the physical, the representation of what's occurring energetically, and so that does, kind of, extrapolate down to the human, the physical. And so what is that? It's the same thing that this community is. It's 70% women, 45 and over. Most of them are tech challenged, and they're extremely high frequency and gifted. Many of them have been doing work for many, many years, without any notoriety, and they're getting the call to step forward. And I believe that this is when, many people have prophesized in their own, intel, that we would be put to work one day. And I believe what you're describing is that push that so many of them are, feeling and responding to. It's at the end of the day, and not that all of them have to do videos, but at the end of the day, it's because it's through your voice that we're going to be. At this point, it's your voices that activate code. And that's
Amen.
really it. It's not even, it doesn't even matter what you're talking about. It just, the voices are frequencies of truth. And the more we hear it, the more that's the real virus. You know what I mean? So thank you, and those like you.
Well, it's amazing how quickly everything is really, really happening. Like, it's like, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you're thinking about. Like, really, really, that focus, you need to be laser focused right now, because the opportunities are amazing. And I've been feeling in the last week or two, I've been feeling like so many different like dimensions opening up, and
Uh-huh.
just being able to literally like choose where I want to be, like choose your own adventure every day. And it's hard to like express to the lay person what's really going on, because I feel like it's something that you can't put into words. And I know that you've talked about it numerous times on your shows. It's like it's not something that's ever happened on the planet Earth. Like what we're going through right now has never existed in time. So
Mm.
we're all we're all like doing it for the first time. And some of us came here for this. I came here for this.
Yeah.
Like my energy has came here specifically for this story. And
Yeah.
so I'm here to see it through in whatever ways I can. And I've been very blessed to have such divine guidance throughout my story, throughout this existence that I've had. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot what you just said. Well, I mean, because it's such an such a quickly changing set of dynamics every day. I mean, there's certain streams that are coming in that have been subtle, that are getting stronger and bigger. There's obviously what ultimately is the doorway to let's just say expanded consciousness, awareness, enlightenment, skills, abilities, sensitivities, which is facing our shift. Like, it amazes me when I talk to people like you on the show, and they are so lit, which I think we all are. It's just a matter of giving
Choose
ourselves that credit and such, but how they do the work, the internal work. uh they're down to earth. They And it's not even they, it's all of us. We have to face our shadow. We have to face our programs. And I think what's happening right now, especially in the spiritual communities, is there's a lot of fire coming in the door, because if we're the ones that are leading the way, uh we're the ones that are going to have to walk the talk. We're very possibly the difference maker, or whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
or whatever it
yeah,
is. But the bottom line is, our deepest programs, prejudices, biases, jealousies, anger, all these things that we want to hold on to, whether we want to admit it or not, we're being faced with them because the universe has not given us a choice. So, I think that just needs to be said, because I'm looking in there and I'm seeing, quite a bit of expressions. You could call them kind of projection, maybe not, but they certainly have comparison. And I think it's time to put up or shut up. And so I'm really happy that those like you are stepping up, because that's all we need to see. We just need to see somebody thriving, and and no longer being silenced, and no longer allowing the conditioning and the programming and the experiences that we've had after all these lives to
yeah,
keep us down any longer. It's no longer anyone's fault. In fact, there is no fault. It's no longer excusable. It is excusable if you don't want to do something, but it's not excusable anymore to say I can't do it because the world won't let me. So
no. And I feel the amount of guidance and light and the amount of help that we have right now in this moment is just is insurmountable. I mean, I feel like, me personally, I see and feel so much, like so many things, so many beings, and so much light that is actually assisting us, that most people don't even have a clue that. And I see so much, I see a lot of people struggling. I see a lot of people not understanding. I see a lot of people dwelling and getting stuck in thoughts. And I feel like it's ultimately my job to shine their light that they have inside of them outside, and help them see it. And
right.
so that's something that I've always done, always, 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 since I was a child. And now it's actually like it's being recognized. So like what I'm doing now, what I've always been doing, people are starting to understand what I'm doing. So now it's like the work that I've been doing is now like like it's not hidden. Like people are actually understanding because there's enough consciousness that's awoke and risen that now like I can walk out and I can have like a fellow, you know, a fellow light worker, for lack of better terms, because I don't know however what way to say it. There's more people like me than not like me now. And so
Right.
it's a beautiful experience because when I was like 20 years old and I was holding meditation groups and I was teaching people these things, it was just beginning to like be, you know, people are just starting to accept it. And now it's like the common, you know, everything's so common now. So it's like it's so exciting for someone, you know, that's 40, 50 years old that has been putting in the time, you know, for so many years to actually witness and view and see how much has changed and
Yeah.
how much easier it all is.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. It's like I feel like you know, I finally feel like a little bit like I'm being seen. And it's not even that I needed to be seen, but it's less of a feeling of loneliness. Like when you're doing that work, you know, but you know, on your own without communication about it. And then, you know, it's like 5 years ago or whatever when I found your Soulogy on YouTube. I was like, I was going through a pretty rough time, and it was about 5 years ago. And you had a gentleman, Huna Flash. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
Huna.
Yeah. No.
And I had seen him come on, and I was guided to reach out, and so I met him and I became sealed, and I went through a whole like transformation process from that one story of just viewing you talking to him. And it like it transformed me into a deeper sense of me that helped me through a, you know, a troubling time, which then, you know, connected me with him. I became close friends with him and I got sealed, and I did the Huna journey for a while. I'm kind of on a different journey now. But it's just amazing how, you know, the kind of work that you've been doing and how you've been so, you know, you've had so many people on and so many people that have touched so many other people that
Mhm.
like, you know, it's such an amazing story that I don't even know if you really realize the effects that you've had on so many people just from having a certain person on that
Mhm.
resonated with another person. And yeah, like I never came on your show before now, but like I've been affecting your show and you've been affecting my life for over 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's that's the kind of work, and like people don't have any idea like what it takes to like stand up like you do. You don't eat, you don't sleep, you trap, you know, you've been homeless, you haven't had places to live, like you know, you've gone through so many stages just
Mhm.
to do this work that you're
Mhm.
doing right now. And it's like that's, you know, that's very inspiring to someone like
Mhm.
me. I'm doing my own work in my own way, but like I honor you because it's amazing. Like those things, every little thing you do for anyone, but then you have stepped up and taken it to the next level and the next level and the next level. And you've had people on there that are like, you know, earth breaking, like Franco and what his work that he did. There's no one out there right now doing that. Not
Yeah.
like
I know.
him.
I
There's
know.
no one like him out there.
No.
Like we got Judith Kessel, she's doing fantastic work. We got Patricia Cota Robles, she's doing fantastic work. Her work is changing the planet. We got Sandra Walters, she's doing amazing work. Like she's a sister of mine. Like these people are all, you've connected them to humanity, to the
Yeah.
layperson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's, you know, it's so interesting. Now, this is the 58th show, I believe. 58. And it's so interesting, you know, the migration over here to this site seemed to parallel the collective because it basically the info came in on the 1st of March, and it just seemed to really parallel it. So, and so there's two things I've noticed. One is the the energy on these shows is totally different. I've always known that, and I've said many times, you probably heard me, it's an, intuitive, creative, imaginative, uh, that's, and that it's a vortex, and that it's timeless or non-linear. So it's everybody watching live, everybody that will watch. And so when you talk about your energy affecting the show, absolutely 100%. Now, having said that, one of the things I noticed, and I didn't notice it right away, the people in the audience noticed it, and they started saying on the comments in the first, especially in the early shows, and they were saying how it felt. It just felt different. And I really didn't catch that, because what I did catch was, for the first time in over 4,000 shows, I was nervous on every show, and I still have a different feeling now, like even on this show today. And I believe it has to do, I believe it has to do with this container, and so I saw, I noticed I was nervous, and then I noticed the change, and then I noticed there was a synchronicity that was even louder than when we were on regular social media, with what was going on with me and what the guests would be talking about. And what you just talked about has really been on my mind, because we shot out of the cannon the first 2 weeks. Then we went through another 2.5 months, or 2.5 months. And just like in our past, we just go up, 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 just a little, no skyrocketing, just a little every day. And we've not lost, we've gained. We're up to about 426 people now, but I haven't pushed it, because I knew it wasn't ready energetically. But anyway, what I was getting at is that like all of us, we came out of 2022, and it was very much a different environment, exhausted. January and February were like integration, and then March 1st hit, and then it was just like wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, March, April, May, and then June we're going into the solstice. Seems to be having the same cycle, and I know this summer is going to be fire, and not just because I came to Alicia Brachet in a dream the day before we did the show and said the summer's going to be fire. She said that's all you said to me. But my point is that in the self-reflection that we've all been doing, and the reevaluation, because there's even stuff from our light worker journey that's not coming with us. You know what I mean? It's like Sandra was talking about on the show, that even everything goes. Everything goes. The attachment to all of it, to our connection, to what we channel, to this and that, to this and that. And that doesn't mean that it goes in the sense, but it can't be over identified with. We're soul, and so in that reflection, and I'm going a little long-winded here because it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me to be transparent as possible, because I know that's really what we can do, how we can serve best. That's why I want to support people like you. And so I started to look at, and I obviously was familiar with the connections made through Soulogy. I've seen many, many couples come together. I've seen many groups form. I've seen many shows form. I've helped a lot of people start their podcasts. And you're right. I do tell them it's not as easy as you think. Start with once a week, because it's a lot. And it's an energetic experience. That's a very powerful thing. It can be a great building tool. But to sum it up, the example you have with Uniflash is huge. I've had people come on and they'll get $7,000-8,000 worth of sessions from one episode. I've had people come on and other ways that you could point at directly, but it's in the unseen part. It's in the way that you do 4,200 shows. We're probably close to 4,300 now. I've heard the story that you told so many times, and I've been sitting here going, can I even do this anymore?
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I can't even imagine how much you feel connected to. And I mean, that's a wonderful feeling to feel that connection, but it's got to be also very exhausting. Like, I have a tribe I have a tribe. I have a Facebook group that I've held down for 5 years of a few hundred people, and that's just a piece of my group. But I know I have a very large tribe, like
Yes.
in on the planet. Like I have a large tribe, and like my tribe is in multiple states, and I have different locations within New York State that I have different tribes, and I know what it feels like to have a big tribe because I feel very connected to a lot of people, more people than most people could handle. So
Right.
I can only fathom what you feel like as far as those kind of connections. And it's obviously very positive.
Hmm.
It's not negative, but it's
Hmm.
still a lot to be connected to.
Well, like even talking to Sandra and actually Judith too, uh, two things. One, I think this is something that, again, it's not about me. It's kind of what we're all experiencing, which we found out in this reference to these two conversations with these two sisters. One was it's difficult to do tasks. Like we have to pick our spots. Like sometimes you're going to get the energy and you're going to be like, I've been spending a lot of time laying down and just taking it in and going for walks and
Yeah.
obviously thinking about stuff. So it's not always easy to even knock the work out and send the emails. So that was one, which is just a kind of a characteristic of the way things are right now in this
Yeah.
transition. The other one, like Sandra spoke more to it, was like what do I do? Or like, what is it even, do we even do this anymore? Like you're questioning everything. So in regard to what you were talking about, I did start to see a glimpse again in a deeper way of all the concentric circles, that Soulogy has created, all and the multiplicity involved with it. I remember years and years ago, Mother Mary consciousness came in and told me everything's upside down and every post that you put up, multiply it times 50,000. And she said, all the ones that you see that are getting the attention, that's not real. And I wasn't like comparing, but I guess in a way I was like, how come, it's not catching fire, whatever. I'm sure a lot of us have felt that way. Why aren't people listening
Right.
or whatever the case is? But,
Right.
um, that's the thing. It gives me great pause to reflect on that. And because I also think it's a microscopic mirror of what we're doing. That's what we're doing. That's what you're doing. 5 years with hundreds of people, in one part of your universe, and how many other ones are connected, and so on. So
Your
yeah.
because your intention is love. So
Mhm.
when your intention is love, and that's a form of truth, natural
Yeah.
law.
Yeah.
When you are tapped into that, everything that you tap into is touched by that.
Yeah.
And that is what grows and evolves humanity.
Yeah. 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 I heard a guy today, and he was uh what was he talking about? Oh, he was saying that I actually think it was an old video, like old, like really old, like he had hair on his head, old, Bashar. His voice sounded similar. I don't think his
Mhm.
eyes were closing, but I think it might have been him. And he said, and I wrote a little piece on it because it kind of motivated me. It was uh, our greatest energy, our strongest frequency. If you look at it that way, that we're projecting is going to create our reality. And we know all these things, right? We're so
Yeah.
smart.
Right.
But he said, if your fear is stronger than your intentions, then your fear will create your reality. And I really
And
started to think about that, and I
yeah,
started, you know what I mean? And I started to go, okay, wait a minute. Okay. And I look back at my journey, and one of the things I think that's come in the last 90 days, as for all of us, is things that we hadn't seen. Like, like I'm talking about the subtle fears, like something I'm going to eat or ingest, and you go, oh, that's not good for me, like, or I'm going to get can't, I mean, so there's all these little, and I put on the post, it's little and big fears visit every day. But I think, like a lot of people, I've learned to sit with it, just sit with it, and it's amazing how quick they go. I don't sit there and try to figure out, oh my God, how am I going to defeat this fear or judge myself? And at the end of the day, like I wrote in the post, I mean, the only thing I know to do is just open my heart at this point. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, or in pace, or in the same pace, or cadence, that everything we do, we open our heart, every single thing. And this is thinking, speaking, and doing. And I believe now we're going to see that when we do that, we're getting having an immediate reciprocation and impact.
And you can feel quickly if anything isn't like pure hearted. You can feel almost like a dissonance from your body. Like you can almost feel like a rejection from your body when you start to like waver off, like when you waver off the, you know, the love line. The
The
love
love
line.
line. Yeah.
When you waver off the love line, you start to feel like an immediate like kickback, like okay, oh no, come back to center. It's like and it's weird. I don't know if this is happening to you, Todd, but what's happened to me probably for at least 6 months is like I have an audible voice now that's not, it's like my spirit is talking to me
Wow.
like all the time. Like
Wow.
there's not a disconnect. I don't have to like reach out to it. I don't have to call upon it. It's like, okay, all right, well, nope, that's not, nope, stop, nope. It's like, it's pretty powerful. Like it's amazing. It's like, it's the closest that I've been to divine neutrality in my existence as in this incarnation is right now in these moments. It's exceptional. And, you know, it's all like we're work in progress. Like it's infinite. It's infinite. It never ends. We don't pretend that we get to an ending because we won't. But we just keep refining.
Yeah. That's a good one to kind of dive into for a second, because I definitely want to find out more about you and what your plans are and that type of thing. But the never ending, I mean, we know it's never ending, but it does feel like, I look at it this way, like a clock, and we have all these cycles, and we're at the end of the clock and the last cycle of the big cycle. You know what I mean? So there does seem to feel like there is some type of jump, or like on a collective scale, not just an individual scale, because many of us have had out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences. You could almost, as I'm talking about, almost compare it to something like that, but you got all your brothers and sisters with you, right? Like that would be trippy. So
it's trippy. It is trippy. It's very trippy. Like it's trippy when you can feel yourself going in and out of these different versions of yourself. Like if you had like 15 or 20 versions in a circle, if like it's a circle and you have all these different versions of you, and you can feel yourself get jumping and going into different ones, and like, oh well, this one is going to give me this, and I jump into it, and then whoa, and like to actually be consciously being able to feel that, that's like such an incredible journey. Like I don't know how many other people are actually getting to be consciously aware, because like I have kind of a standpoint of like I look at everything as like I'm like a vessel and holding things, and so I see things much more from a bird's eye than in the small. Like my challenge in this lifetime was to be more the human and not be the grandiose, all seeing eye, because a lot of people see my energy as like an oracle energy, and it's nice, but like I know that I came here to be human, and I don't forget that. But it is crazy when you can be able to like be it's like an oscillation of like being that small and being that large all at once. And like when you kind of get more masterful, you're able to do that. And I've been able to step into that oscillation and be consciously aware of it, which is kind of amazing.
Well, I mean, that's what you just said is, I would consider probably like the rules of the road now, because and well, look, I don't I've never really, not that I don't agree, I've never resonated. It wasn't my experience. I mean, I had a similar thing, you know, from, birth. I knew I was full of light. I got that attention, so intuitively I could relate. I didn't have the, get me off this planet until I was probably 19, something like that. But a lot of them like you. And again, many of them are in female form. Okay. At least the ones that we can see, right?
Mhm.
And they've struggled. Many of them have come on the show, as and they'll say, what the hell am I doing on this planet? And really, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is what you're saying, and that is to truly, and this I think is what Sandra was talking about. Like, even now, after all this time, uh, the ethers can be an escape. The intelligence that comes in can be, or the focus on that, or the over focus on that, because really, I think it's pretty obvious that if we're not, um, uh, because like I said, everyone's being shown everything. And if we're not going to pay attention, we're going to get hit with a big 2x4 on our head, or something will happen. And probably what it really will equate to is physical death.
Right.
For some, yeah, because this energy is just moving very fast. Yeah, so I think that's really important, and I really feel like that. You see a lot of things out there that help people, events and gatherings and meditations and sessions and such. Many of them carrying sacred wisdom codes that people like you have downloaded and then they transfer to others. But I haven't seen one that says, I'm Jill, and I'm like most of you here, and I'm not from here, and I'm very connected, and all that. And I've had a struggle being a human being, and I'm making some progress. I got work to do. Here's what I've done. Here's what's worked. Here's what not worked. Maybe it helps you. Maybe it doesn't. And to create a discourse, because I think that would be very effective. Because the more of them in the body, the more functionality will occur with the sensitivities. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're talking about. You have an audible voice going on right now. If you use that as a marker, proportion to someone else, say like me, it may not be a voice, maybe another part of sensitivity. But
Right.
yeah, I can tell you that in the last 3 months, my sensitivities, and really everyone that I've run into on this show, have just ballooned. They've just mushroomed. They've just blown up, and that in
But
itself is a challenge.
and and I feel like, honestly, like, not enough people, like, obviously we have your show,
Uh-huh.
and we do have people, here and there with their own shows or their own YouTubes, but I don't think enough people are really speaking about it, and I feel like it's really needs to be spoken about. And I really feel like the biggest thing that's going on right now for a lot of people is they don't understand why they're feeling so much sadness and so much depression and so
Yeah.
much heartache, and they're waking up and they're not feeling like they can understand where it's coming from. And it's because a lot of people are having these huge purges that they didn't have the tools to understand what was happening to them. So then as it's happening to them, they literally feel like they're going crazy. Linda Good McGillis, another fantastic, light bringer, she's spoken about the consciousness feeling like it's going crazy. And I actually have physically seen it with my own eyes, with people really, really not adjusting to this.
Mm,
And yeah, some people are going to physically leave, they're not going to be able to handle it, like you said, but then other people are going to like unravel, and that's going to be a really hard thing for a lot of people to witness. So it's really important for this show and for me and for you and for all of us that are doing this work to talk about all these things, not
mm,
just the beautiful things that me and you might be experiencing, but also the things that are like terrifying and
Yeah.
like, okay, like you're okay, like you're gonna survive this, like you're gonna be okay, you're gonna make it through this. Like just believe, and obviously the tools of grounding, of breath work, of meditation, of eating a clean diet, drinking tons of healthy water, like just breathing, like physically breathing, like in and out, and taking time to breathe. Like these are things, these are tools that are timeless, that are going to help people get through this. And I know that that's part of my job, is to help people and to hold that container of those people that are going through those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you, this is going to be good. We can go like 20 different directions. How much time do you
I have as
have?
much as you have.
Okay. Well, I kind of like, because we haven't been doing as many. We've been like half pace, but that's going to change. But so I'm able to go a little bit longer. Like we can go a couple of hours, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
sure. As long as you want to go, I'm here. I this is my third lifetime in this incarnation. So I have plenty of things to discuss with you.
Cool. So, and yeah, what you were just saying. Oh, I know what it was. Okay. So we're just going to jump around. We're not going to go in any kind of sequence. So what you're saying is that now obviously you've been a practitioner for a long time.
So I practice without receiving funds.
Right. I mean,
So I've been doing work behind the doors, closed doors, with humanity in the micro and the macro level for over 25 years.
okay.
So I've been connected. Like I started off with the angelics. That was where my starting point started. That was when I had a very, trying, suffering, um, Black night of the soul back when I was 23, 24 years old. And I had the most trying and most awakening year of my entire life. And that was when Archangel Michael introduced himself to me. And that was when I had a choice of which direction I was going to work for. Obviously, the light and dark are all one thing, but I definitely had the option to work for one side or the other. And I was actually physically asked which side, because they both wanted me. And I was like, no, I'm going for the light. That's the direction I'm heading in. And I want to do my work through that vessel. And so at that time I really started being initiated into that
Wow.
collective, that energetic collective. And that was when I was 24. And then it's been, I've gone through many initiations through the angelic realms. And, last year I started working with Metatron, and that's an unbelievable energy. Like that's a collective. So that's not like one, that's like the whole angelic realm in one. So that was a really powerful shift when I got to start working with that. And I've worked with Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and I've worked with a whole bunch of different Kuan Yin. Like I've a lot of them I do channeling, and whatever needs to come through me to help someone else is what
Right.
I allow through me. And I know how to empty my vessel, and it's not about Jill. It's about whatever someone needs
Right.
always.
Right. Yeah. And are you noticing a difference in the people that you're helping, like let's say this year versus
Oh my
previous years?
gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes. So like the one thing that I've learned that I started noticing actually last year is I the work that I'm doing is much more intensive, and I'm feeling that it's much faster of a transfer. Like it's happening quicker for people, whereas before it felt like it took eons to you know create an opening for someone, and now it feels like it's very fast.
Yeah.
So that part has been really like fantastical to witness. And um I feel like there's more of like a karmic, not karmic, more of like a symbiotic, like transference of balance. Whereas
Mm,
in the past, I felt like I might not ever see the balance come back to me, but I knew it was coming back to me. But now I see immediately the transference of like equality of like what I've done for someone, it comes back to me. Whereas in
right.
the past, I never would see it. Like it could take 5 years before I would see the balance come back to me for something that I did, not because I'm wanting to, but just I'm able, like, I'm very much about truth. So like anytime anything has to do with truth, it always comes back to me. So I always find it and it always finds me.
Right.
So it's kind of like that same idea of balance. I don't know
Yeah.
if
No,
you know
that
what I
makes,
mean.
yeah, 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 absolutely. And so, oh, I had one there off what you were saying. Well, one of the other things I wanted to ask you too was, uh, in terms of like how different are they? You know, in addition to what you're talking about, are these people that are just waking up? Are these people that you've seen before? Does it seem like that? You know, there's at least a part of them that are you know, like people that are going, hey, I thought you were crazy, but now I just want to talk to you and tell me
Oh,
what's going on.
I
But you
see
know what
where
I
you're
mean?
coming
Like
from.
like newbies, you could say.
Yeah, no, I feel like I always get newbies, but I also have a lot of people that are like finally like, oh my God, like this is what Jill's been telling us for like 10 years. Like, and that's mostly just family. I would say that's
Mm,
more family.
hmm.
Because I feel like most of the people that I am connected to are somewhat awake, but I actually have a 9 to 5 job, which is
Oh
unbelievable
my
that
God, this is crazy. So you have a 9 to 5 job. Do you have a family?
I have
Like,
I have two kids that I raised solo. They're both in their 20s.
uh,
They're fantastic, beautiful
so
humans.
you're living alone, but you got a 9 to 5, and you do this. Yeah, it fascinates me to
But
talk
I
to
do,
people.
but Todd,
Mm,
don't misunderstand. I do this work while I'm at my job. They just don't know it. So I'm doing this work
yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
So I've systematically chosen places that I work because of the people that I have to work on and with. And
Wow,
there are one or two people that kind of understand what I'm doing, but then the majority of the people have not a clue that I'm actually creating a container that's actually allowing them to actually evolve quicker, because that's
wow,
part of what I do.
that's
So like
powerful.
I'm kind of like a gatekeeper of
Hmm.
anywhere I go. So
Right,
like I hold the space of places that I go, and I actually mirror back and reflect people's highest versions, so I can see their highest versions. I can tap into their highest versions by looking in their eyes, and
right.
then I am able to reflect back what their highest version is to them. I can do that in a minute. I can do that in an hour. I can do that in a day. Whatever I'm instructed is whatever I'm guided to do, and however I'm guided to do it, I'm solely living by my guidance.
Right. Wow. So essentially what you're saying is that yeah, that's pretty cool. So like you're going one on a one-to-one basis, looking them in the eye, reflecting back to them, and it's just an all-day thing. And it's just, yeah, that's cool. That's
So it's
very cool.
not that much different than what you're doing, in the sense that there's a constant influx
Yeah,
of people in and out, in and out, in and out,
yeah,
in and out, in and out. But it's powerful because I know, no matter what anyone else knows, I know exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it. And
right.
so to the outside world, oh, she's doing a muggle job. She's doing this 9 to 5. She's being held. No, no, no. It's quite the opposite. I'm holding others. I'm
Right.
helping others. I'm being the container,
Yeah,
and for people to evolve.
you're the local New Earth grid. So that they
Do
think they're,
you know what
yeah.
my nickname is? Did you notice on my YouTube page, my nickname, one of my nicknames, I have various nicknames, is the
Uh-huh.
Jill Butler Experience.
Yeah, the Jill Butler experience. I thought that's the name of your show though, isn't it? Isn't that the name
That's
of
the
your,
name of my show. Yeah. Yeah.
so how long ago, how, did you know what would be happening now? Like
I
what
knew
we
this,
call ascension, what we
I
call,
knew this, I knew this 20 years ago. So I started to really recognize it back in 2012, is when I realized that things were going to be like, I did a meditation live with Drunvalo. He did it online. You know Drunvalo, right? Melchizedek. So I was very connected to Drunvalo because I'm very connected to the Melchizedeks. And so I was following him at the time back in 2012. And he did a meditation online when the clocks shift, when it turned to 2012.
Yeah.
And so I was actually in his energy field when things shifted. And so I have known like forever, but I really, really started to know 20 years ago that what was going to happen and how it was going to happen. But I didn't know the exact times. I didn't
Right.
know the details. I didn't know all the facets
Right.
of it. Like I do know, like I'm understanding now. Like I was let in more and more through the angelics of the details as it was happening. So that way it could be fresh for me. So I could still be my human Jill self, because I can't be an oracle 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Else I would combust.
Yeah. Have you ever done any stuff like in front of people? Like,
What do you mean?
well, like I guess you have because you got a group. Yeah, you got a community.
Oh, I have done many channelings for many human beings,
Yeah.
and I have actually had people for at least 5 years telling me to start to do a YouTube page and to start talking and sharing this. But I'm very secure in doing things in divine timing,
Yeah.
and everything that I do is always what I'm guided to do by myself and my collective.
Yeah.
And so I don't ever just like bypass that because Jill Butler wants to do something. Like it has to be like vetted through my whole system before something gets to change big.
Yeah. And so I think part of what's you mentioned like the divine timing thing, that seems to be, like there's certain things that are coming in that become a challenge that weren't a challenge, like just getting stuff done, like in the old way,
Because the old way doesn't work anymore.
I know it doesn't work. But one of the things
work
that's come in, I think one of the things that's come in as a strength is to actually approach things non-linear, like non-linear. Like, I've got things I'm working on, and obviously we just jumped in with both feet and we're, dog paddling, and but there's a part of me that I've noticed it. I'm like, stay back a little bit, don't make a move. It doesn't feel right. You don't really know what's, you know what I mean? You can kind of feel it, you know what I mean? And then what I noticed is that with collaborators, there's no pushback. There's no hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. It's so I'm noticing, and maybe that I guess is probably the difference of this year from previous years, or what's changed, or what this year represents, is that there is a different, yeah.
You're actually, Todd, you're actually directing it as you go. So there is no like tomorrow or next week or yesterday. It's just constant. You're directing it. But see, the difference now is it's so fast that you're realizing it in real time. Whereas before there was like a lag time between what you wanted to manifest and what you thought about what actually happened. But now there's no lag time. So like you think about something, immediately happens. It's instant manifestation, like literally, like everything happens instantly. So you are directing it. So we're directing this at this show. Like we're directing it in every single moment. There's no like, and I love that about you, because people said to me, well, what are you guys going to talk about? And I said, you don't understand. That's not how Todd Medina does it. I said, Todd is organic. He goes with the flow of the moment. And I love that about the way that you interact with people, because I feel like the more organic you are in the moment, the more authentic you are, the more that it's really real. The more scripted it is, the more you're trying to stand in a box. And we don't need boxes anymore. We're done with boxes.
Hell no, no boxes.
Hell no.
Buck naked, buck naked to the soul. Yeah. What? Yeah, and then the thing too is, well, at least what I'm finding, okay, is that oh God, a lot of people would explain it like this, even with Soulogy, or let's just say with the collective. and we'll speak in terms of nomenclature that people are familiar with, but again, the masculine feminine thing is getting a little old to me, but
Yeah.
that's just me. But so um, the feminine energy in us couldn't step up and speak because because of the conditioning and the experiences, the apprehension that that part of us has had because it's been suppressed and shut down.
Right.
When as the field has changed and it's that part of us is confident and sees the support, sees things clearly, is stepping up now. I felt that. I feel that. I feel like that was part of what happened March 1st. That's why I was getting nervous on shows that I never had before. It wasn't a nervousness of like fear. It was a sacred rumbling that was coming alive, and so I think that it's important I guess what I'm trying to say is that it is the human. What I've noticed for me, it's not masculine, it's not feminine. I would say energetically, it's the part of us, the mother goddess, that's been suppressed. It only makes sense, but it's the human part of me that my soul is guiding me to show up in a totally courageous, transparent way, but it's very human, and that's where the nerves come. They're not like the nerves that we don't like. They're just this other type of nerve, and it's and it
Well,
feels good. Yeah.
it's like a debut. It's like the energy is like debuting itself. So like this merge of masculine and feminine, which is just oneness. Like,
Right.
so if we take off the masculine and feminine words and we just say oneness, this oneness is brand new. It's a debut feeling. So
Yeah.
it is like kind of nervous. It is kind of like, apprehensive, because it's like, wow, like I am finally this whole human, like this whole version of what it was we came here to be. I'm stepping into this. And is everybody else stepping into it? Does everybody else feel this? Is everybody else in this merge right now? Because this merge is like, it's so strengthening and invigorating and creative. To me, I feel so creative. Like every day I wake up, I can't wait for the next moment. Like, what am I going to do next? And how am I going to show up next? And it's amazing. It's amazing. That's why
Yeah.
people are like, are you nervous to be on his show? And I'm like, no, I'm excited. What is that about? Like, I'm
Yeah.
excited. Like, I'm excited to talk to you. I'm excited to speak my truth. I'm excited to be that merge for everyone to see.
Yeah, and that's what it is, isn't it? It is a merge.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a merge.
I mean, you hear, of course, people, talk about soul merging, here
Mhm,
Skamos, and
mhm.
but we're always merging. And I think as we wake up more and more and more, we realize that we're resisting merging, you know, because we got this attachment or whatever the case is, this program. So yeah, that's what I see. I've always been the
Yeah,
type
but
that,
but if
yeah,
we talk
yeah,
about this, see, this is the thing. If we use this throat chakra of ours
mm,
to communicate these things as we are, we won't have to let go of anything, because we are manifesting it through our voice. Like you
yes,
said, downloads, like you
yeah,
said, codes. We're manifesting it through our voice. That is what is bringing us to the next level.
mhm,
Sound. I don't need to tell you about sound.
mhm,
Sound in music is healing. It
yeah,
is going to be the new language.
that's
There
right.
will be no talking. It will be all music and harmonics and geometry, and all those things are going to be the next level of how we communicate.
You're
And we're
absolutely 100% right. You're absolutely 100% right. And it's the old saying, I just need to get out of my own damn way. the
well,
voice
see,
the
right.
voice is, but I mean, like, the voice is just transforming, like the rest of us. And yeah, I'm a huge believer. I mean, even when I got the Soulogy downloads on a personal level, um part of it was music. And at the time, I played a guitar, and I didn't really ever try to do anything publicly, but that's how it started. At least that's how in the physical it started. I just was
Mhm.
told, turn on some music and start talking. and then it just evolved. But I've understood that innately, and also from, from what I received, but it's so obvious now. It's coming out in droves now. I mean, it's
Well,
just,
that's why all these music festivals,
mm,
however, sometimes they can be very toxic because there's a lot of people that are like using substances excessively, and I'm not like an advocate of that. Like I'm always
mm,
about moderation, and I
mm.
don't even use substances. So I'm always holding space for all the people that use the substances. But anyways, like these festivals, like I just went to one. I went to the Pyro Festival. It was in Ohio. And the reason why I go to that is I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him, but do you know Mike Love?
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So his music, he's literally an ascended master speaking through his music. Like he is so evolved. There's so much codes that come through his music that he like heals people. Like you would go to the doctor for like, chiropractic, or you would go to the doctor for Reiki, or you would go to the doctor for deep massage. Like you could go to Mike Love and you could
Yeah,
you'll get healing. Like
yeah.
150% you'll get healing. Like
We had
I know.
yeah, no, I mean, I know. I mean, I'm familiar with quite a few people. Obviously, Ty. I mean, Ty's. If you ever go to Sedona, go to his place, him and Serena's place. That studio that he broadcast from, and that we did work in. But I mean, like even when we go on Mondays, it's got 6 gongs, and of course he's a multi-instrumentalist and he orchestrates everything.
What's his name? Ty who?
Ty Hudnall. Ty Hudnall.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not familiar. I'll have to
he's
look him
got
up.
long hair and a beard. Does he have a beard?
Okay.
I think he has a beard. Yeah. No, he always never shaves. That's what it is. He's got long hair. Anyway, we've collaborated a lot. I mean, over the years. We've done shows and then we've done a lot of music. But I learned a lot hanging out with him for 6 months last year. I learned a lot about all of that. So, you got like say Eric Rankin talking about the geometry and the relationship to frequencies and colors, and Ty, when like Ty does group session, or he'll do like an individual or couple session, him and or Serena, and they'll actually create music. The people will create the music based on, the conversation or the exchange, and what comes up. It's pretty interesting. So, and then I look at, what is his name? Ian, who was just on with his partner a few days ago. I did a kind of a collaboration with him, and again, trying to help somebody without expectation. And his thing is called Listening to Smile. He's got a function this coming weekend or next weekend in Austin. Now, I won't go into this whole story. Y'all can watch the show that we did. It was on social media. But he has developed this over years. He's done like 500 songs. He's done, I think, 50 or albums, or maybe it's 500 albums. I can't remember. But he has people. Lady comes in, stage 4 cancer, listens to his stuff for 3 weeks, and goes back to the doctor and is gone. Another one was a spinal injury. Wasn't supposed to. I think it was supposed to be a quadriplegic. I think it was a young boy. Not totally healed, but it was still early. 2-3 weeks into it, he's already moving his arms. So there's a tremendous amount of I guess like a windfall. I feel like a windfall is going to come through sound vibration, music, and all that. And gatherings. I think gatherings are going to be big,
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I feel like I have a lot of people fairly local to me that are like, I don't know if you know where Ithaca, New York is, but I'm not that far from there.
you're right by
I'm
Syracuse. You're
Yeah,
by
I'm by Syracuse, but
okay.
I have a large collective of friends and people in Ithaca, which is about an hour south, and they do all kinds of gatherings. They're all
Yeah.
like up and coming. They're all like really amazing people. I have a girlfriend that does she holds ayahuasca ceremonies. I have another friend that is connected to like Charles Essenstein, and he does stuff on his land. He has gatherings there. But I have a girlfriend that does a big women's gathering. So I have a lot of like connections out my way of people that do a lot of gatherings, like a lot of community gatherings. So it really is really, really important to be around
Yeah.
the collective, to be around groups of people, and just to share, like just to share and be. I think that the lesson for me this last few months is I need to be as vulnerable as I can possibly be
Yeah.
for humanity.
Oh, that's
Like
what you
I
wanted
have
to,
to.
that's what you wanted to talk about. Yeah, we're gonna get on that. We're definitely gonna get on that. I have a friend that's been involved with Soulogy back in I'm talking like 2013, 2014. And
Mm,
she is a minister, and her and her sister in it's either, I'm pretty sure it's Syracuse or that general
okay.
area. Her name is Nora. I don't remember her last name. It's her and her husband. I'm gonna have to get you this
Okay.
information, but her and her
Oh,
sister, they have some type of retreat thing or something going on, and they have community. I know they do because we've talked about it before. But I'll have to get you that after the show. Um,
yeah, yeah,
when I send you the tape. Um,
yeah.
okay, so vulnerability. Wow. I mean, the words that we heard a lot was authenticity and vulnerability. And now for
Correct.
me, it's really moved to transparency. But obviously, you can't get to transparency without the vulnerability. It's like that's the road to the main highway there, right? But yeah, let's talk about
Well, and
vulnerability
I
because
feel,
that seems to be
yeah,
something that's really been in my life for the last 90 days. I can't be the only one.
no, no, I feel like that's like it's really something that we have no choice to embrace. It's like any last dips and dabbles of shadow and things of like, oh, pride, and like things that keep us from being humble and having humility, like all those things that stop us. I feel like we can transgress those with vulnerability, so we can step through all those things that are like really deep down by just speaking about it, by literally speaking about it. Like
Yeah.
I had a situation that really like affected me emotionally. Like I go and I walk around on my lunch break. I have an hour lunch break, and I walk 3 miles on my lunch break, and I walk around a reservoir, and I walk every single day, and I actually bless the water around the reservoir because that water is being used for drinking and other purposes. And so I do like sort of like healing work as I'm walking. And so it's a very sacred place to me because I'm putting my energy in there every single day in, day
Mm.
out. So I went one day, and I saw something that like blew my mind. There was a guy in a truck 2 cars away from me that was having a woman, prostitute, um performing, on him. And it really affected me. Like it affected me in such a bad place, because I was like, wait a minute, this is like a public place. Like grandmothers are walking around, kids are walking around, families are walking around. Like this is broad daylight, this is 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, listen, get a hold of yourself, like balance yourself out, dude. Like this is not okay. And like I went through this whole process of witnessing this shadow, and it was obviously something that I had to transmute within myself. Like I had to look at this. But the thing that helped me the very most to walk through it was I talked about it. I went on a live on Facebook and I discussed it. And that to me was what helped me get past it emotionally, because I was like in a place of like, listen, I do this work here, this is my place. Like a little bit of ownership and entitlement, like I walk this reservoir, this is my energy, like I've created this space here, like don't come into it, don't like ruin it with this shadow, but what however that translated, and I walked through it and worked through it. I needed to discuss it, and I needed to discuss it out loud to strangers, like on a live, because I wanted people to realize, like, listen, like, you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff, and you're going to have to like make peace with it, and you're going to have to not be triggered. And if you are triggered, you're going to have to deal with that too. So you're going to have to look at all this. But I'm bringing this whole story up just because once again, it's like I had to be vulnerable. Like, I had to discuss this. I had to be verbal about it. I had to say, like, hey, this was not okay with me. And like, shout out to the guy, like, hey, I'm not okay with this. Like, this is the planet. This is the place I want to live on. And I want it to be this way. And I'm not inviting that into my story. So, anyways, I digressed a little bit into that
No, that was
story,
good,
but
but it's a good example. So just take us through that example. I mean, because I mean, honestly, as I'm listening to you, like back when I used to do a lot of Facebook lives, like spirit walks. A lot of times it was something catalyzed me. So it was very much the same. Like I remember one night, it was my two girls that I've been reconnecting with since I've been in Houston, but it was early ascension. It was 2013, 14, and I don't know. They were hell on wheels. They were 12 and 13, at the time, and they were already women, right? I mean, let's face it. I mean, most of these,
right.
and so they were pushing the envelope, and I just had a trying night with them. And I remember getting the thing, and I'm just saying, man, teenagers, you know what I mean? So there is something to be said for speaking it out. I never really heard this perspective in relation to vulnerability, because look, if that happened, you jump on a live, hey man, this happened over here, and that's bullshit. This ain't happening. But at some point, what you're saying is that through that exercise and through that sharing, you're able to release or bring into alignment everything. And I think the reason that you're saying this, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that when you say to people, you're going to be seeing some crazy stuff, that rings a bell, that resonates, because I know as I'm sitting here that the more we personally expand, the more distortion we're going to see. And this is
Heck
where
yeah.
the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
And if we can't handle and we're not censored here, and I'm not going to go back to cussing a lot like I used to in the early shows, but if we can't get our shit together on a personal
Seriously.
level, we're not going to make it. I don't care how much light work or work you've done. I don't care what planet you came from, because we're going to see some crazy stuff. Now, this happened to me today, the exact example you have. And I really thought about it just a few minutes before. And I happened to get on Facebook on my phone, and I saw, like on the main news feed, third thing down, it was some BS. It was the World Health Organization,
Of course.
big post, and it says children must be protected. They must be vaccinated, measles and something else. And then and basically it was just a veiled way. And then it said in the COVID-19 epidemic, and so it was like, what is that? So I punched in the comment to comment. Now I never comment on anything hardly. And I started to write, what am I going to write? Fucking liars, or something, whatever. And then I thought, and I saw a couple of comments, and then I looked at the icons, and all of them were angry, laughing. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. And then I thought, do you really need to do that? And I'm picturing like the Illuminati, seeing that, I put liars or something on here, and now I'm marked. And I thought, what is this, Todd? Just move on, nothing to see here, just move on. But I think but I think that's kind of a good example, because, and I'm not saying that I'm past all that. I feel like a lot of us probably are past all that. We don't have to make a comment. But I hadn't really thought about it the way you connected it.
No, but if we do make the comment, what we're doing is we're helping our fellow brothers and sisters that aren't where we're at. So it's not that we're not. So the way I see it, this is the way I look at myself in this body, is I have one foot on earth and 1 foot in the ethers. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm always gonna honor that. Like, I'm not gonna like put myself down because, oh, I saw something that I didn't want to see. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to use this to help someone else. I'm going to take this situation that's ugly and I'm going to find a way to make it. It's like taking lemons and making lemonade. It's like, that's how I view every experience.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it was more like, how can I give this back and also free myself of it? Because in my mind, I don't live in a world that does that. So in my mind, I'm like, well, why is this showing up for me? And then I'm like, all right, well, the least I can do is share this and let people know. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing this, that means a lot of other people are going to see much worse things than what
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing. You know?
Well, I think too, yeah, yeah, like in that thing that I brought up, there was the first comment I saw that it said, man, it's good to see so many awakened people in here. And then there was 389 replies, and they were all, well, you know, truly drinking the same Kool-Aid we are. So yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then, but like, you know, I don't know. I mean, and then I also understand that everybody has different roles and everything changes. So, you know, I might have
Mhm.
had my warrior hat on today or whatever the case is. But what I ended up doing I ended up sending light to it, just like
Yeah.
any other grid word, transformational light, you know, pure love.
Yeah.
I don't know, because to me, the way things are getting to is, first of all, nothing's going to work, not for anyone, unless it is the Trinity energy. It's got to serve equally.
Probably.
And so that makes it pretty easy. The hard part is I would say that because of our conditioning is to bring our percentage up or down, because we're either putting ourselves in a place of lack or we're putting ourselves in a place of hoarding, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
energetically, I'm I'm really starting to understand, because of the intensity of the experience and the rapidity, and, you know, the massive acceleration that comes each week, and bigger than the last one and bigger than the last month,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
to if I can't do anything else, is to be quiet, and if it is something presented to me, to try to leave it in the most balanced way I can. And like in that case, it was like, you know, oh, they're just playing a role. I'm going to send the light, you know, get this thing moving.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
do you
Well, yeah.
do you
Yeah.
like, you've been doing this 25 years. We just
Hmm.
talked about, you know, earlier about, you know, coming out of 2022, and like you
Hmm.
brought up my story a little bit, and uh
Hmm.
I feel I feel like I said, like January and February just integrating totally, just like almost like a zombie, you know, just kind of like recouping. I actually believe the first day of the
Hmm.
real year is March 1st, you know, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
didn't never really register to me until this year. But yeah, a bit of fatigue, a bit of
Oh, but oh my God. Oh my God.
mental fatigue. I feel it kind of fading a little bit, and power
Hmm.
starting to come on, but it
Hmm.
seems to be linked to what you're bringing to the table. It seems to be
I,
linked with um, the act of vulnerability slash sharing on the road to full transparency. Um,
because I feel like
yeah.
it's a release.
Mm,
It's like it's like a release of that we have not, I guess, honored. Because I feel like no matter if we're male or female or where we are, I feel like we've all repressed. Like we all have. Like we've all repressed. And
mhm,
some of us have repressed through lifetimes
mhm,
and, ancestrally repressed. And so it's like repression on top of repression on top of repression. And so it's like it has to come out in some way or another. And if it doesn't come out, it's it's gonna get bigger and
yeah.
gonna become like a monster. it's going to become like a monster that's going to like you said, hit you like a wood and kill you. Like you have to release it, and you have to find ways to release it. And to me, as long as you come at a place of balance with your release, and you come with the intention of love, and you come with the intention of transmutation, I feel like there's no harm done with being vulnerable and speaking, as long as you're having reverence and honor for
Yeah.
those that you speak to, and having honor for your surroundings, and always keeping everything as much balance as you can. I think that it's one of the best ways is
Yeah.
to communicate.
Yeah. 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 To communicate in this, and then it's like a new, a new band of communication, like a new band of frequencies or that we work with. And again, some of these are very subtle and they're coming on and we don't really have confidence in them because we haven't had them. But again,
Yeah.
it really it doesn't baffle me. It intrigues me. It kind of excites me that when you get down to it, with everything that we've got, and everything that we're tied to, we can go back to, galactic wars and move forward from there. We
Right.
can talk about the last 15,000 years. We can talk about, but it just intrigues the heck out of me that no matter what, it all to I guess to say, like, to fulfill the potential to reach that the maximum part of the wave, the crest in any given
Mhm.
moment, which is great because if you didn't do it the 2 or 3 times before, you can always, you know what I mean? It's always there. It goes right to the human being making the final choice and accepting everything that we've received and actually putting it into motion, which I think obviously there's things that occur to us egoically, et cetera, that has made it difficult to let go of these things. And a lot of these things are being let go. But there's, like I said, there just seems to be a indisputable link between, I'll call it transparency, but transparency is composed of vulnerability, authenticity, speaking truth, expressing truth. There's just something about it when, I have a lady.
But I
Uh,
don't feel
yeah,
I don't feel like there's any more room for distortion, Todd. Like I don't feel like it's allowed. Like I feel like we're in a playing field right now that it's not allowed. It's like you want to say a new matrix. Like we stepped into a new game, and like this new game is like and the reason why I feel like we're heading towards this, and why we're in this so deeply, is because we're heading towards telepathy.
yeah,
Telepathy for everyone is going to be, I know what you think, you know what I think. So we might as well be talking and being clear and being
yeah,
able to be verbally honest with ourselves and each other. Otherwise, when that telepathy comes, like obviously not everyone's going to be here for that. Like, it's you're going to have to be initiated to get to that level. Believe you me, it's not going to be for everyone. But when we get to that place that it's mainly everyone, think about it, Todd. You won't be able to hide anything.
well,
You have
yeah,
you have to have your heart balanced. You have to be able
yeah,
to be divinely neutral. Like Sandra Walto talks about divine neutrality, and I've been talking about that personally without before she even mentioned it myself. I've been talking about it with my people. Like we have to be at that space in order to get to telepathy. If we're
yeah,
not divinely neutral, we can't step into those realms. We're not
yeah,
ready.
yeah. Well, yeah, I look at it, I equate it to just like the solar, the photonic light, or the sunburst or whatever you call them, flares and all that. We can only
Mhm.
take so much at a time. You know what I mean? We can only take so much, and so that I think the same goes with this whole telepathy thing. I know, like my telepathy has increased dramatically, and because it's the early stages, I'm picking up stuff that may not be so nice, or you know what I mean? And so I get
But
it. And
yeah,
but
I've always telepathy has always been one of my gifts.
yeah,
So, but I don't, but see, I don't tell people. Like I don't
right.
say, oh, I can read your thoughts, because I don't want to like I don't want people to act weird around me. So like I just accept it, and I've accepted it for a very long time. But it's, like not everybody is going to be ready for that level. What do you think about like how do you feel about Jason Estes like point systems? Like are how, I think you've had him on a couple times.
Oh, he's been on about 25 times probably.
Oh my gosh, he's been on that many times? I
He
didn't even
came he
realize.
came he came out on Soulogy.
Oh,
He
he came out to you.
he came. Oh, what happened? Something got muted.
Are you there?
Oh, you're back. Uh no, yeah, I think he looked around quite a few different platforms, and then he hit me up. This is back in 2018, like
Okay.
2018. And he said, yeah, I thought he was some little kid or something, because I get a lot of messages. He's like, I want to come on your show. I chose Soulogy, and then I found out, we do the first show, 700 people show up. And so he obviously been doing work for a long time. And had and actually Ty and him worked quite a bit in the early 2000s together, in the Dallas area and around the world. But the point system, you're talking about the data points and how he describes things.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
interesting. It's like I follow that. Like I keep an eye on his postings on that,
Mm.
and I do watch some of his videos. He takes up an approach of more of like a video game kind of idea process, which I
Mhm.
always find really interesting. But I do like what he has to say.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jason well. He was at the first Soulogy Fest. Um, and I don't know. I'd say we probably done 20 shows, maybe not 25, but we probably did 20. And yeah, he was at the Soulogy Fest. I actually had him and Franco on the stage together. We had a
I almost
uh,
came to that. That
mm,
was the one that I really was guided to come to, and it
mm,
was the one that right before Franco died. So that
right.
was like his last. And I was so sad because I realized that the reason why I was so prompted to go to that was because that was the last one, and I wasn't able to, for whatever reason, I can't remember the exact details, but I
Mm,
wasn't able to go. But I remember like, oh, that was why I was supposed to go, because I was
mm.
supposed to meet Franco. But I have his son on my group, and
Oh yeah.
I really like his son Mark.
Yeah,
He's a
Mark's
very
very,
nice guy.
yeah. His
So
daughter, I talked to Kimberly. I try to talk to her, often. Uh,
how's she doing?
she's doing good. We talked it'd been a while, because I've been going through a lot, and uh, but I think I talked to her probably in maybe April, and then we talked about 3 or 4 days ago. We had a nice long talk. She's doing well. Uh, she really is. I probably, would would leave it to let her, talk about her own journey, but
Right,
she's
right,
she's very
of
much
course.
look, I mean, bottom line, when two people are together, uh, they got the same frequency. It may just not look that way. You know what I mean? Franco may have
Yeah,
certain, you know what I
no,
mean? But yeah, she's incredible. Franco always said that she had an archangel soul. And I'm with you. I have not met anyone like him. Um, but really it's them, because uh and I hope part of what we're
tag
doing,
team.
yeah, part of what we're doing is setting up some initial templates, kind of in the background. You can't see, as we're working with like 25 different people. And this is beyond the development of the social community, and how it is, what it looks like. And so one of the things we're going to do is Kimberly, uh, she met with our IT people in Toronto, and she gave them a hard disk of all the advancing consciousness. It's like 200
Oh
200 and something
yes,
hours. So we're going to go in and
yes,
set that page up, and Kimberly's most
yes.
likely going to be involved with that. She told me she wanted to get in there and maybe get involved with it,
Oh,
and
great.
set that up, and also provide some type of abundance stream for Kimberly, because it really was
Oh,
Kimberly
that
and
would be great.
Franco. Yeah, it was really Kimberly and Franco. But yeah, so yeah, she. I hope to, and in fact, I didn't talk to her the other day about it, because we are just talking about personal stuff, and really, she was telling me about what what her journey's been like. Um, But the next time I talk to her, which will probably be soon, I'm going to talk to her about coming on and doing
Yeah,
the
that would
show.
be great. Like
Yeah.
I always like, I remember always seeing her like helping him with the videos. And I
Mm.
would always like, he would be like talking to her a little bit here and there. And then you would hear her voice and then she would be sharing things or reminding him of things. And I always knew it's like, oh, this is such a cool couple. Like,
They are.
I know that like she
Yeah.
helped him a lot. She helped him a lot. And I remember when he passed, I felt like it was, in my mind, I know it wasn't sudden because I know he had been suffering for a long time, but in my mind, it felt sudden just because I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like so devastated, like when he was gone, because I was like, wait a minute, I need him. Where is he? Like, I need to listen to him. Like, he's been like, because I'm very, very selective. Like, I'm very self guided and self taught. And so there's very few people that I listen to as an actual teacher. It's not that I don't pay attention to what people say and I don't know what's going on in the collective, because I'm always very aware of what's going on in the collective in the spiritual world. But for him, I actually felt like he did similar work to me but on a larger scale.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like under him in the sense of we were on the same team, but he did it from a much larger scale than what I did it. But I felt like he was, me and him, like I just felt such a soul connection.
Yeah.
And like I've actually had him come a couple times in dreams to me. And I felt him actually recently, and I actually reached out to Mark and I was like, yeah, your father, you know, came through. I felt your father the other day. And I definitely feel like he's part of my soul tribe. Like
Yeah.
I'm connected to his
Yeah.
tribe, he's connected to my tribe, whatever way you want to look at it.
Yeah, no doubt. No, there's no doubt. I've talked to so many people that have had encounters with him. My daughter had, I think he came, I don't remember what it was, like 3 nights in a row or 5 nights in a row.
Oh wow.
She's pretty lit. And I've had quite a few interactions with him. I mean, I probably haven't gone 2 weeks, without he'll pop in.
He
Something will happen.
he really liked you, Todd.
Oh, we
Like
were,
I know I
yeah,
don't need to tell you that, but
yeah.
I listen, when I would watch the two of you, he didn't want to share his content outside of his own sharing of his content that he shared himself. I don't think he really wanted to share his content with anyone but you, really. Like
Yeah.
I felt like he was giving that exclusive right to you because of his respect for you, because
Mm,
I could feel that energetically when I saw you guys communicate. It
yeah.
was a very special connection you guys had.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling sad for you too, like not sad because we know that no one really dies, but just sad in the sense that like, you know, he wasn't going to be coming on with you anymore, and like you enjoyed sharing him with the world.
Yeah, I did. After the Soulogy Fest, which we featured him, I mean, we had a lot of people speaking, the her talks and just a lot of people, but I had him in at 3 slots. And yeah, there's a picture of when the moment when I was on stage emceeing and I saw him come in and I put it down. Somebody took a picture of me and him hug, about to hug, and Kimberly's got her hands in the air and her mouth's wide open. It's a beautiful picture. But it's this is vulnerability, right? I mean, I I always felt the resonance with him. It was a very special relationship, not just with me, with many other people. And I'll just speak on a personal level, just me. And you know, a lot of stuff was going on. That first Soulogy Fest was in Sedona. I was getting downloaded. It was just like boom, 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 boom. And once it was over, first of all, he told me, I've been to all of them. This is like the best, you know. Not to mention he was very unhealthy. And Kimberly and and I hadn't seen him a lot, obviously, but Kimberly, that's all we need. She said it was like something got into him, like his color came back. I mean, they went hiking. I mean, he didn't bring all of his stuff to keep him healthy. I mean, it kind of registered with me, but there was so much stuff happening because right after that Soulogy Fest, this would have been 2021, end of May, going into June, there was a what would it be? a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, and it was a
Mhm.
badass one. I was on the desert when it happened, and all these things happened. But they stayed in the condo with me that was gifted by our friend Ashley Lee and her husband Marvin. And so I got to hang out with them for 2 nights. And one night, and we did a show. We're sitting on the couch, and I was able to ask him things that we'd never talked about. And it was amazing. It was about his life. I mean, we were talking to someone at
I think I
17.
saw
You know
that.
what I'm
I
talking about?
think
I mean,
because
like,
you
no one, if you
you
haven't
you
ever
played
seen that
that
one.
you played that.
Yeah.
Oh, that hasn't been released?
Oh no, it's been released. Yeah. No, that was
Oh, yeah.
this one we were sitting on a couch together, and he
I
talks
think I
about,
saw that.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
I
an
think I
amazing one.
saw that.
But anyway, and it was so amazing too, because there was I don't know, it was both of them. I can remember having a moment with Kimberly. I remember having a moment with Franco. But the reason I got into all this, I didn't mean to like go too long, was I left Sedona early. They were going to be staying with me for another night or two. And I just had to get out of there. Like, I'd had so much go on. And I remember leaving. I left at night. You know, I'm driving the bus, and it's going down the mountain, and it's dark. And I don't have regrets in my life, but I didn't realize uh, the power of it all. And I know that at an energetic level, it all happened. I could have gotten more potential out of it had I known, but I know, and it was very extraordinary because the first night we sat on the couch, we didn't have the film going, and I said, dude, I want to ask you questions, because the first time he came on the show, you know me with the questions, he started his thing. I didn't know who he was, and he said, well, I can't really talk about that. I said, wait a minute, this is Soulogy. You can talk about whatever the fuck you want to. And you know, and so that's how the relationship went. We were able to go deep with him, and I think that's one of the reasons that he liked, well, plus we just had a bond. But when I was there, after we had this discussion the first night, which was, you got to, you know, would be like a download, because we're talking everything from top to bottom, you know. And I went to the store the next morning, and I was coming back, and I got this huge download. And it was, and I don't normally get stuff like this, and it was about going to happen a few months down the road. Actually happened after his
Wow.
transition, and during a
Wow.
gathering before he transitioned, where we just gathered the troops. And they were showing me how, and they were using him as an example. They had him standing on a stage, and they were showing me, and all the people were watching him, and that how we were going to hit this point very soon where the speaker, the same thing you're talking about, really, that he was the perfect example of a person expressing from the heart, and that for the first time coming very soon, which would have been in November of that year, that the people that would receive it would send the exact same thing back. So they were telling me this for myself, but also as this individual goes to as a collective. So yeah, you know, he's you know,
He's my absolute favorite. Like, I don't, like I said, I don't look to many humans for teaching. I
yeah,
go outside of those realms, but when it comes to a human being that was really tapped in and really heart-centered and really wanted to get information out for the mass awakening of consciousness, it was definitely Franco. And I mean, you know, I still go back and look at some of his videos just so I could see him again, just so I could hear
yeah,
his voice again.
yeah.
Sometimes I felt like he was directly speaking to me. And I know that, I'm sure that's happened to you and many times in your life where you know something is meant for you and someone's speaking directly to you and they're
Right.
telling you what you have to hear, not what everyone else is hearing, but what you're meant to hear. And I know there was definitely times that he did that for me. He spoke directly to me and my path and what I had to do. And also, like, there was times that he would talk about, like, when he was a child and what he went through and the loneliness, and I could relate to that because I knew that I was different when I was young. I knew I was different, and I could relate to his stories when he would talk about that and like how he went through so much and how he was different and he knew he was different. And there was just so much relatability that I had with him. Um, you know, I'm so excited that his wife and you are going to collaborate on your channel to like add
Mm,
his content again so it could be out there again, because
yeah.
I often
I'm
wondered about what was going to happen with all that, because it's so powerful and it needs to
yeah,
be archived and it needs to be
yeah.
held precious, you know?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. In fact, I'm going to create like a practitioner template, um, or at least example for people. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
then one for like a database oriented. They'll all be kind of hybrids, but because of what they have there, and then to take those 200 hours, and now with the whole AI boom, this will be something that will be much easier to do, which is
That's so great.
to take those, take all of those and basically create the text from them, but more importantly, to get excerpts from them, and then just build a huge database cataloged of his stuff that people can quick reference through the positive algorithms and truth frequency algorithms that will be, the basis of the network. But yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of people I've talked to, they've said exactly what you're saying. Like, he's talking to me, and I know he is,
Oh
and he
yeah.
was,
Well,
and he was.
I think any inspirational human being is doing that. Like,
Hmm,
I might be saying one thing to you, but if someone's listening, it might be something special for them that I'm transmitting to them. So that's how we work. That's
that's
how it
right.
goes. That's how we
Yeah.
give codes.
Oh, I know.
That's
I mean, believe me, I've gotten them over the years. A lot of times I think you're talking about him and it's not good. I've had that one
I
happen before.
I have a question for you, Todd.
Hmm.
So I'm curious to, because you haven't mentioned her, and I know she's a big part of your world. I want to ask you a question about you and Morgan. Like, I want to understand how that divine union, how it's such a good thing for the planet to know about how that works and how you guys are intertwined in that, and um what's going on with that, with like your latest downloads with her.
Well, we haven't done one in a while. The sessions that we've been putting out.
Hmm.
It's like everything else. Um, there's no stone unturned. And I know that all of us are sacred union before we
Hmm.
came in here, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I believe that one of the purposes of what we're doing here is creating that in with an external mirror. And we can look at the
Amen.
narratives. Yeah, we can look at the
Amen.
narratives. I mean, I've got memories. I can remember in Lemuria when the Anunnaki came. I can remember being separated from her. Okay, and that's not the only time. Um, uh, so there's also this narrative, mission oriented you know, uh, reform everything back to where it was, plus the experience, kind of like the Akashic plus the living library. Boom, here's the new creation. um
Unfinished business.
but yeah, I think that's a very good question, and I want to just add to it in a general sense, because so many people are, uh so many people, uh, we all want that, I think, whatever that is. But what I was trying to say is that I think that, you know, like we had a session, I think it was last month, and we never have used the term twin flame, and she's never used it. Now she's channeling, and they're telling her this is a twin flame activation. You got to say this, right? And she finally spit it out. She finally spit it out. But I believe that, well, I know that the best thing, again, going back to what you're talking about with the vulnerability and the transparency, I think this is also how we build empathy if we're listening and present. But being in, we've had incredible experiences and we've had incredible challenges, and nobody knows that. And so I look at it this way: going through the ascension as an individual, that's tough. Now you're going to do it with someone else. That's another class. So,
Another level.
but the rhythms are the same. If you know what I mean, the rhythms are the same
Mhm.
because, we get a download, we're on our back, somebody, somebody triggers us, we got to adjust, so all that stuff is there.
Right.
But I will say that, you know, it's for me, it's the most important connection of my life and
Mm,
outside of myself.
mm.
uh and you get up every day, and there's no guarantees, and you have to be open to everything. And obviously, we've in circumstances, we've been separated geographically for over 2 years, so that's been
I
difficult.
think it's amazing. That's amazing.
Um,
Long distance relationships are so struggling.
well, I think too, I was actually thinking about this today. I was thinking about, had she never come over, had we right, how I remembered the day, the 17 months before the first time she ever came over. And I remember, like, even in the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was saying to her, look, just make a commitment with me. All right. We don't have to tell anybody, just make a commitment with me. I'm in. And she'd always say, no,
Wow.
no, no, no. But it was the alignment I was feeling, and it came anyway. But I think that having been together, and then, you know, this happens, and then the COVID and all that, and all the energies in general, yeah, it's been really, really tough. It's really, really tough. And we're just gonna do the best we can. But for people, I will say, like I say about the soul, I mean, I believe it's inevitable that many, 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 if not every body, it only makes sense that if we're the exhale, the inhale, and we're coming back to this oneness, that you got to go to the two before you get to the one, right? So I kind of look at it like that, and I believe we'll see a lot of these types of connections. They're already there. They're already there. But and the other thing I would
Yeah.
say about the twin flames, I don't think it's a bad word anymore. I don't think it's a bad connotation. It's all who's saying it and how they, how they're interjecting it.
Right.
But I
Right.
believe that, as with everything else, it's not something we can judge or appraise or rate by linear standards, or previous paradigm definitions and standards. We are multidimensional. And I would say this about her and I on a personal level: there is not one single dimension out there that we know 100% that we're in alignment. 100%. And again, that reflects to the human experience, whether you're an individual or a couple or a group or whatever, because again, everything's aligning. And how do we get our free will, or our will, aligned with that universal will, and not blow the mind, the body, the whatever of the
Circuits.
human being? Yeah. So
The circuits.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I I feel like to me, like, I've spent many years alone. I've spent many years in partnership, and I say that I feel like I like I like the work, like you said, the mirror work. Like, I like to have my counterpart so I can see what I'm missing, because you can do a lot of work by yourself,
Yeah.
but you're going to miss things. And if you have another person, and it is that, male, female, counterpart that we were, authentically given as, you know, as natural law. Like, I don't want to get into any, things
Mhm.
outside of that, but as the natural law aligns, it's different. It's like the coming together is like, it's like magnifying the truth in a
Yeah.
way.
Well, I mean, and again, going back to your story about, how your challenge is to bring it into the body. Um, the so in the well, I okay. for me, the greatest gift in a connection, such a connection, is what you're talking about. But it's not the fun part. So if you know, if there is always that level of devotion and connection, the two always come back to love. And but I would stress to anyone, you know, just from my own experience, that the greatest gift, the greatest strength is the mirror. And that's also can sometimes the strength of something can be the weakness as well. So it's not easy.
Double-edged sword
That's
paradox.
right. It's right. So it's not always easy. It's you know, our all of our journeys ultimately come down to the brutal honesty of the soul. What the dialogue we have with ourselves in the universe. And this is a magnifier, but because there's a mirror there, it would be the deepest and the final shadows that you peel off, because you're going to see them in that person in the closest circle to you. So it's not for the weak of heart, I'll tell you that. And it's but yeah,
No, and the longevity, when people can hold that energy and hold that space for long periods of time, to me it's there's nothing more powerful than being able to hold that energy in that space of like really seeing those shadows and
Yeah.
really wanting and really like volunteering
right.
to get to that depth of those shadows with another human being. It's profound. It's
Well,
profound.
when you okay, if the litmus test for us as individuals, and I don't see it any other way, and I didn't make it up, a lot of people said it, it's never them, it's always me, period. Right? I mean,
Exactly.
that's it, period. It doesn't matter if it's your partner and you're a twin flame, it's never them, it's always me. Now,
Exactly.
that doesn't mean that there's a foregone conclusion as to what's going to occur, or the success or lack thereof, whatever, you know what I mean? That's not what it means to me. What it means to me is that I serve best, just like we do as an individual, I serve best managing my field, feeling my feelings, feeling my emotions, and being honest with myself, and examining and
See,
re-examining,
that
you
Todd,
know.
that's what the next level of divine relationship is supposed to look like. And that's
Right.
why I asked you this question.
Yeah.
That's why I specifically wanted to ask you about this, because you're giving the truth. You're giving the raw, vulnerable
Yeah.
truth of what the real purpose of divine union is. Whereas people, because of the 3D dumbed down, you know, Disney World, Disney movie idea of what connection is, and it's not about, you know, the lower chakras at all. It's
No.
about all the chakras. It's not about the lower chakra, it's about all the chakras. And it's about unlocking all of the chakras, you know, with each other, like helping each
Yeah.
other unlock those chakras. And I think that the future of divine unions is going to be, you know, the next level of what you're doing. On the next level of that, there's going to be a next level of that, and that's what we're all heading into. And that, I think, I would pose a request that you continue and to keep diving in deeper and deeper with Morgan and shows, to be able to have people really recognize and witness what this looks like. Because I feel we don't have enough couples that are actually vulnerable like you guys are, and having shows and discussing and doing these workshops and doing these things where people can really understand what the real work is, like what the
Yeah.
real purpose of divine union is. Because I feel like it's such a fairy tale in people's minds
Yeah.
of what having a relationship is, and what, you know, just marriage, all the things that to me are like not real, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I make a joke, or we make a joke, or I've heard other people joke about it that get this. Uh, it's not that romance isn't in there. It's just not, it's not the end all cure all, if that makes sense. You're
Yeah.
much more than, you're much more than romantic partners. In fact, that's part of the palette that you paint with, right? Um,
Hmm.
and again, the greatest value is the mirror. Now, the reason that that's the greatest value, especially now, is because there's nothing outside of us that's not within us. But it's the things that we see outside of us that we say that's not us that keep us from that oneness. Now, and it doesn't have to be my partner. It could be whoever. It could be my kid. It could be anybody. Uh, if I see something in them, and I'm examined and re-examined, and I've re-examined and re-examined, and my loops, my revisits have softened, and I can see that I'm good. I still, and I can say that's not me, but that's like at the surface level, and that's not where we're at. We're not at the surface level.
Right.
All of us, we're at the soul level. So I would have to take that energy into myself, and hold it with with the polar, with the polar opposite, you know,
Hmm.
and hold it in my heart, however I can do that. I mean, and I
Hmm.
agree with what you're saying, and we talked about this before, because the last half of last year was pure effing hell, on the human beings. And I know every couple, many didn't make it. Okay. Or I'd say a significant number didn't make it. It was a pure, and it was for everyone individually too, not pure hell, but it was a fire. It was come to Jesus time. We're coming out of that 10-year thing. It was like a bathtub where the water's going down at the very end. It goes like that. So that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I remember mentioning to it, or one or the other mentioned it, what you're talking about, the couples talking about the journey, and this is where, again, the rubber meets the road, and this is where real transformation can be witnessed and shared, in the code passed. No bullshit, no bullshit.
Yeah.
This is it,
Yeah.
and so I did, I asked her a while back, and she said, no, I don't think, well, I said, even I have to get some couples on and do this and talk about this. She goes, I don't think anyone's ready. She said, I'm not ready. And of course I'm always ready, but yeah, and again, this is just one topic. We could be talking about individuals, we could be talking about groups, we could be talking about a lot of
Right.
different things, but ultimately we're talking about us individually. I am soul, right? The fractal, the multidimensional new human being, whatever you want to call it. And again, this is why I say I get intrigued, not baffled, but I'm intrigued by the fact that it's coming down to the human being. Like, I got to feel this on my entire body. There's nothing that I can leave out, you know, and even on that subject, uh, it has been a wild, crazy, magical, fantastic, frightening, up and down, uh, boom or bust, kind of thing. And I hold that in the highest of the highest in my own experience, to be honored and allowed to, uh, rebirth a higher potential with a mirror, such as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that you doing that, you and Morgan doing that in the public eye is such a bigger service than you'll ever know, because I feel like there's very few templates that are as raw and as real as you two are. I've seen a few other couples out there in the different realms of self-help and
Mm,
spiritual and whatever. And but I just feel like what you guys give and what you guys offer is just, to me, it seems the most authentic. That seems the most real, the most candid, and I appreciate it. And I'm
mm,
sure there's many other people that appreciate it. Um, so I'm glad that you guys are doing that work. And I like I said, I hope you guys keep doing it. Keep being in front of the camera
oh,
and with all your with all of it, with the roller
yeah.
coaster, because other people can
Yeah,
can can benefit from that because they won't give up. I think that's
yeah,
part of the worst thing that we've evolved as couples and creatures is and humans is people just give up far too easily.
yeah,
They don't see that it doesn't matter who they're with. The work is the same.
right.
It's just, I mean, it's just the longevity is where the lesson belongs. Like the
Yeah,
longevity comes, you get the lesson after the longevity. You don't get the lesson in the quick fix. You
right.
get the lesson over time. It's like in the journey you get the lesson, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a lot to take in. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to hear. I mean, I got an email or message to, I get them every day. I mean, and they specifically said, uh, I think, well, it was about something at the end. They said, I really want to tell you, I thank you for, you and Morgan for like living in your truth or something like that. So yeah, I mean, but it's nice to hear this today. And again, it's not a coincidence. Without getting into personal things, I mean, it's just a message I needed to hear and reinforce. And again, I believe that all of our journeys kind of parallel, as individuals or the couples go, so it was a collective. And I believe that what's happening right now is, and of course, these are magnified in these couples, uh, and other connections, doesn't have to be romantic connotation, is the nastiest programs are being shed. And
Dismantled.
yes, and that's occurring through many different ways. I mean, you could do a modality, you could do this, you could do modality, and it's still got to do something, and there still has to be a triggering event or whatever the case is. But they're coming out to be seen and be released and brought into a higher alignment. Um, and so, I look at the darkest of the, or if you look at the what is it, the scale of consciousness, the lowest level is shame. I believe, we say, oh, we clear this, we're going here, we're going. I don't think it works that way. That's the linear.
Hmm.
I don't think it works that way. I think it's, but shame, I woke up on May 11th and I don't get that kind of stuff all the time. I shouldn't always say that, but I need to stop saying that. It's kind of self-deprecating. But I woke up on May 11th and I was told the words, shame has been, you know, shame is no more. And I understood it. You know how you are, like, you're like super
Yeah.
there, right? When you get up and I'm like, you got to go outside, you got to go for a walk. We got messages for you. And all I could think when I first started walking was shame is gone. And I could feel it in my masculine, like that, like the shame of the masculine was gone. And then the next words that came out of my mouth were, oh, it's fucking game over now, you know. They ain't got nothing on us. And then I think
Yeah.
I wrote a little piece
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so true.
I wrote a little piece later, and I was talking about, and again, I have a little sensitivity to the masculine and feminine thing. Morgan talks about the masculine and feminine thing a lot, and I, sometimes I get not because of her, but I get, you know, like, God, this is the war, that whole thing is just, it's too much static, you know, like we're one, you know, it's oneness, like you said. But,
Right, right.
but there is, just like you heard years ago, the mother's landed, you know, mama's home, you know, and, you know, so there is an energetic thing that you see play out. And, but it was in a lot of memories, a lot of past memories, Lemurian thing, the galactic wars, because it's the same old thing all the way down. Right.
Right, right.
Uh, our masculine energy got hijacked just like our feminine energy did. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of attention, and rightfully so, on the feminine part of it. But in the last 2 or 3 years, the masculine energy that was suppressed,
Oh yeah.
along with the feminine energy that was suppressed,
Oh yeah.
is starting to come back. And so I'm taken back through this past month where I'm getting, you know, Orion and Lyra, and I'm getting, you know, the whole thing. And I had bits and pieces before, but so the whole thing's being threaded to me. It's Lemuria, back to the memory that I had on the day that it happened. They take the women, they took her, they're going to go breed them, then they're going to kill them, and then they're going to kill us, right? And then the war starts. Next time I get incarnated, I'm going to be a badass MF, and I'm going to go kill some dark people, and we're good. You know what I mean? The dark forces. So, but what I'm getting at is something happened in the last couple of weeks, and I realized that, you know, even in the light worker communities, we need to stop shitting on the masculine.
Oh yeah.
And I mean
I
it.
feel
I
you,
mean it
Todd. I
because
feel you, Todd.
I'm sorry. I see too many fucking comments. I'm going to lose my shit. But I mean, I see too many comments. Just as we didn't know what she went through, you have no fucking idea what he went through. That's the
No,
point.
I feel
Nobody's
you.
pain
I
is
feel
worse
you.
than somebody else. Certainly not the masculine and the feminine. I'm sorry.
Right.
Because I'm
No,
feminine
it's
too. Don't
true.
forget that. Now, what I was getting at is we were the apparatus of the patriarch, the masculine part of us.
Exactly.
We were the
Yeah.
implementer. We were the one that had to go kill people. We were the one that had to beat ass or get beaten and this and that and this and that and all this stuff, right? Holidays. The number 2 holiday, economically speaking, is Mother's Day. Christmas is number 1. Mother's Day is number 2. Where do you think Father's Day is? Number 20.
Really?
Now, absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is that the fucking war is over, and we all are accountable, and we're all complicit if we continue this imbalance. If I make a judgment about you, and even if it's in satire or being a smart aleck or being funny, that is condescending, that is sanctimonious, and that's superiority. So we know that we can't look at someone on a pedestal, but we also can't be looking down on them. So that's why when we say they're not awake, now you can say they're not awake, but it's the connotation, it's the energy. You know, it's, oh, it's okay that we're different. That's part of the thing, but it's not one better than the other. And
We gotta get past the separation. We
yeah,
gotta get
and
past
the masculine and the
the
feminine is the place to go. But we've got it here, but out here. And I'm so glad that you came on today, because what you said about, because I never heard it put that way. What you said about vulnerability makes all the sense in the world. I've already jumped to transparency. I'm being told, hey, you're going to have to be out there and you're going to have to bear it all. Like, I haven't been doing that all these years. Oh no, you got to go deeper. Like, we know how these downloads are. You don't know if that means how literal is that, you know? But but what you've, because I kind of went authenticity, transparency. I mean, vulnerability, transparency. I'm already got one foot over here in transparency. What you've made me do is rethink things, and and then to reapproach life, which is really my number one thing, whether it's Morgan, whether it's you or someone else, is an interaction with somebody, with a mirror. So I can now reapproach this and say, we can talk about anything in this space of vulnerability, if I trust you and you trust me,
Seriously.
right? And
But
we can make
we have
progress.
to, so Todd, we have to get to a place that we can be this way with everyone
Exactly.
in every moment. So this is
Yeah.
how I exist with everyone in every moment.
Right.
That's why I could come on here and be this way with you, because I can be this way with everyone, and
Right.
everyone has to be in a space like this. Otherwise, it doesn't work. We all have to exist in this place. Otherwise, it's going to take a whole lot longer to get through to this next level. And there's no time. There is no time, but like
Right.
there is no time. Like literally there is no time. Like it's so fast right now that it's crash and burn. It's like you don't get too many more chances. It's like get there and get there fast.
Yeah.
This is the name of the game right now. It's get there and get there fast.
Hmm. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels
It's
that way anyways. I
well,
mean,
I mean,
that's
I
what
mean,
my intel says.
well, yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning when you started talking about that. I was like, it's put up or shut up now. And that's and again, anytime I say anything, I think probably most of us, if you know what I mean, is I'm saying it to myself. Now it
Oh
may be
yeah.
saying it,
Oh,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? But it's like I was shown something. I can't really go in, it's too personal, but it was like, this is just today. This is what you need to do. I'm like,
Hey,
I
if
read
it's
it.
personal, Todd, you need to share it. Be vulnerable.
Uh,
Share the personal.
well, I
Be
can't, but
vulnerable.
I can't. No, I would, but I can't because it involves someone else. That's the reason I
Oh,
can't.
well, you don't have to say name. Well, I guess it would be, I would
Well,
guess
it
it would be
was,
understood.
but in general, what it was saying was because here's what we do. Here's what we do. Here's what I do, and refining from this all the time. I fixed that. I'm okay. I done that. You know, I'm good. I'm past that. Uh,
So
and
do
and
I.
and and when we think that we know, there's something
You
that we
don't.
don't know. And so if
Exactly.
I'm looking at anyone out there and I'm looking at that person that they don't know something, that they're dumb, that they're this or they're a bigot or whatever, I am putting this in the field. I don't think we realize yet the power of being a quantum thought creator. And we can go, oh, I'm going to have a red Corvette. I'm going to, whatever. But what we don't think about is the energy that we project on other people when we say we don't want them to do well, when we don't want them to succeed, when anything, we have to be responsible for our thoughts because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah,
And
I agree with you.
I
I
mean,
agree with you wholeheartedly.
it,
Like anytime I have a disconnect or an imbalance, I hold space for fixing that immediately,
yeah,
because I know that like I'm a very quick manifester and I can create things very quickly for people. And once I create something, it could be another karmic debt for myself. So I gotta, it's not even just about it in that terms, but I'm just saying it in a matter of fact way of like,
yeah,
I understand
right,
how all that works. And something that was brought to me yesterday, I had an astrology reading from a very powerful person. And I don't tend to go for readings or search outward for these kind of things, but this particular person came into my field. His name is Miguel Angel Silva, and he's very, very powerful. And you should have him on your show. You'd love him. He
you
actually
know him,
brought,
so you can set it up for me.
yeah, I'll set it up for you because he's powerful, and
Right on.
he's totally like, and he doesn't need any, like he's already got everything he needs. He just is doing God's work. Like
Right.
he definitely connect. He holds the angelic collective. So he's kind of like a human Metatron. Like he's unbelievable. Anyways, I had a reading with him and he was talking to me so much about compassion, and he just kept hitting home, and he was like there was so much humble and humility in his energy, and he almost brought me to tears twice from his energy, from the way that he held his words, the way that he spoke about things, the way he was talking about balance and basically like neutrality and like we were talking about me starting this podcast, and he was talking about my words and like being careful about like holding space for everyone and not like getting stuck in like the boxes of like masculinity and femininity and all these different things that we hold ourselves in, all these boxes. And I was just like, I was so taken aback by his eloquence. And like when you meet him, you'll feel it. Like he's just channeling like such divine love. And it's like you can feel it
Mm,
in his words. And it's like that's like, and one of the things he said, and it was so profound, and I feel like I'm really holding the space for this right now, is not to teach, but to what was the word that he used? It wasn't to teach. He said it was to like, you know, to show, like, to
to
basically just
share.
to show people like through example,
Yeah.
like who you are, like, and
Right.
just be like what we talk about, like truthful and authentic.
Yeah.
And not like, it's not about what you say, it's about the love that comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
It's not about words, it's not about giving somebody something, it's about you just showing up with the intention of love. And when you do that, everything that comes out of your mouth is gonna oh, it's inspire. He said don't teach, he said inspire. So
Inspire.
that's what he told me. He said don't, he said you don't need to teach people, you need to inspire them. And he's like, and you can do that with your, your angelic, your voice is angelic, and the angelics come through your throat, and you can do that. And it's true. Like we
Yeah.
can inspire people. We don't have to teach people.
Right.
We can
Well,
inspire
yeah,
them.
the teaching, yeah. And there's so many other dynamics. I could just like go for hours with you. It's like 2 nights ago, uh, I had an unexpected experience that happened spontaneously. My daughter was, I had gotten up at 4 o'clock in the morning, because I'm trying to get into a groove where I can get the most out of my day. So I'm going to bed earlier, getting up in the wee hours. And then I went to help my mother, who's selling her house, and I needed boxes, and it's 95 degrees, and I'm moving. I'm sweating, tired, and all that. But my daughter's leaving town. Uh, big, she's at a big point in her life, and so on. 22 years old. My other daughter, 21 years old, is around the corner. So they decided they were going to get together here, and then afterwards, my daughter and I are going to get a bite to eat, because it's 9 o'clock. I'm dead tired, you know. And so we did that. And then for the next 3 to 4 hours, we had a mutual dimensional experience. She was,
Whoa, what
she,
happened?
well, I mean, I'm just saying, it would be like the two of us sitting down in a room and really, just going. And she just, her multi-dimension, and I see it because I interact with it, but you still have the psychological of the dad, right? So there was a point where the dad cap comes off, the daughter cap comes off, and the soul just came out. One thing I found out, she sang 3 songs for me, and I work with a lot of artists. I know music my whole life. I've been in a music nut. One of the most incredible things I've ever heard. And here's another
Wow.
example of that hasn't come out, that knows they're coming out. So
Yeah,
in
that's
this,
so
so
beautiful. That's so
yeah.
beautiful.
But so the reason I'm saying this is because, I mean, obviously there's a story to it, and the things that she was sharing, which what had to do with everything, galactic, Frank. I mean, and when somebody's, when
Oh
somebody's
yeah.
plugged in.
When you when
So
somebody's channeling, it's
yeah.
that you can't, there's no debating
Oh,
it.
I mean, and it's them. You can hear it. You can hear it here. So, but the reason I bring that up is because in the middle of all this that we're doing, there's this, not a fly on the ointment kind of thing. It's not like that. It's more like a drop comes in at any time. You can be in that field, and because things are expanding, that situation might have been a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10 is now a 10, like we're getting so much more out of it. So,
Yeah,
I
because
just
we're
bring
so,
that.
because
Yeah.
because we're not we're so I feel like we're so much lighter. So I feel like before we had so much density of like our thoughts and our memories and our like I don't know about you, but like my memory is shot.
I
And
know.
like I've heard this from other people that like I can't remember things anymore. And
Right.
like that's part of this whole thing. Like
Mhm.
that's so part of what's happening to us. People will say like Jill, don't you remember that? And then I'll be like, oh yeah, like, and then like it'll come back, but like it's completely gone until someone reminds me. I'm like, where did that go? Like, and I've always had a pretty sharp memory, but like it's like we're not retaining
Yeah,
nonsense anymore.
that's
Like
right.
we are not holding on to anything that's not serving us in that moment. We're not holding on to. So we're like a car that's working at optimum level. Like the minute you take it off the car, you drive it off the lot. That's how we're running all the time now. Whereas we
Right.
we used to be running like we were a 15-year-old chugging along like exhausted, and
Mm,
now we're running at full maximum all the time. So it's just a whole different way of
yeah.
existence.
And that's what I meant by like the flying the ointment, although that's not what I mean, but I just meant like that. You're right, because those types of experiences that you're in a field of, let's say a band of high frequency with another person, or people,
It's
creates, yeah,
compounded. Yeah, it's
it's like,
compounded.
for me, it feels like, and I think you might have even brought this up earlier. I'll just use that not as example. She was downloading, she was transmitting to me, and it was massive because it had to do with cycles coming to a close. I mean, her mother passed in 2012, and it was very, and all this stuff, right? And it all came down to that night, June the 12th, and to that moment, and it just happened. 3 hours of like,
Wow.
and yeah, and it was just like, okay, and that's how I feel things go too. Like, and I'll be honest with you, I probably, I don't know, in the last week, 2 or 3 days, I just said, you know what, man, and I've had these conversations before. I call them come to Jesus meeting, and I'll call them all in, and I'll say, look, man, we're busting our ass. I'm tired. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And I have full faith. Don't get me wrong, the highest reverence and all that, but I might want to leave. You know what I mean?
Oh.
But what I'm saying is there are moments like that. These moments are actually where the gold is. And and then the reason I'm connecting that is because of those types of experiences. They're there, they will happen, and they will more than negate and neutralize any of the old
Right.
feelings and impressions. I don't share a lot of videos I don't do a lot on Facebook now anyway, but I saw this short today, and the guy says, when I was 11 years old, I was fishing, and there was a cottage behind me, an old house, and the guy comes out and he says, you're not catching anything. He says, no, I'm not. He says, that's because you're doing it wrong. And the guy says, okay. He says, you got to cast your net, put your line in the water when the tide is leaving. What does he use? When the tide is receding, right? And the kid's like, well, there'll be no fish there, right? As the tide goes out. And he says, yeah, they will, because the tide, creates friction, and all these plankton come out, and the fish come in and feed, right? So then the guy says, man, so here we are, we throw in the thing. And he said, the thing's coming in 45 minutes. I'll show you. So they do it. He said, man, we were pulling out tens at a time. He said, it was crazy. So he says, the guy, they get done, and the guy gets a little philosophical, and he sits up on a rock, and he lights a cigarette, and he says, there's only one thing you can do wrong when the tides of your life are going out. I wish I could remember the way he said it. And he says, and the kid says, what? He says, not having your line in the water.
Yeah.
So the guy
Yeah.
goes on, he's
Yeah.
11 years old. He must have been a writer or something. He goes on, because I never forgot that. He said, I have found this out. I have found out that when the tides are receding, in those pauses, okay, that's when you have the most fertile ground to work with. So get your line in there. And he said this, he said, you will feel like you're losing everything. That's when you go out there and find a new way. Don't try to do the old things that you do. Find new ways, build new things. And it was just so inspiring to me.
Yeah, it's like almost the point of giving up is just like is when the opening for the new comes.
Yeah. Well,
That's
and I think
potent.
it's common for people to right now, because so much stuff is coming up, and so.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot. It's a lot for the collective. It's a very, very lot. I feel like I've been blessed. I've been able to deal with things incrementally,
uh,
and it's been good for me, but I know it's not been like that for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, everything's, I guess, relative to our, and here's the thing too, like I can be talking in the manner I'm talking, and it really covers what, like maybe 3 of the last 100 days, but they came in 5 days, or even what we experienced in a day. It's no longer a day. It's like a freaking lifetime.
No,
You know what I mean? And
no,
sometimes
it's crazy.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
just gonna say, like, some days I feel like it's like 2 days worth of days in one day,
Mhm.
and then some days I feel like it's been 5 minutes, and I'm like,
I know,
how did this whole entire day go by? And
I
it's
know.
only feels like it's been 5 minutes.
Look,
Like,
it's already
how is
June
that physically
14th.
possible?
Yeah,
I know it's
it's already June
insane,
14th.
and we've been on the phone for 2.5 hours.
I
Todd,
know.
holy
I want to
cow!
ask you 2 things before we get out of here.
Yes.
And I forgot the first one, but the second one is, so what is it that you want to do with your YouTube channel? Um,
I
and
basically want to be a vessel of, first of all, I want to start
that,
it. Oh,
that's
are you
it.
still there?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here. I put
oh,
you up
okay.
on
I,
I put your, yeah,
oh, okay.
I
I,
wanted to
I
put this.
basically, I want to start off kind of like what we were talking about, like that vulnerability piece.
Uh-huh.
But then I want to branch out. So I want to bring people in to like be able to be whatever they are and come on. And I want my page to be used as a vessel of love and inspiration. And so I want to bring multiple people on there that can express love and
Hmm.
express, balance, and basically give those things in every single show that I have. So
That's
I just
awesome.
I just want to push back out more love, more oneness, more truth, and just keep pushing that out, pushing that out, pushing that out. And I have a lot of soul tribe that want to be a part of it.
Right on.
So I'm excited. The biggest thing I need right now, and I'm gonna put a little shout out to the universe, is I need someone to sponsor me to get a really nice computer so I can like do it right. Because I have like a really old Chromebook, and it's like first generation Chromebook, and it's not gonna foot the bill. So, but other than that, I'm ready to go.
Well, you should. Yeah, I've helped a lot of people do it, and yeah, and I've worked with everything. I started with, but yeah, I think you could probably get something. You don't have to have something super, I mean, at least getting started. You can always upgrade, but yeah,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
shouldn't be.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
I
mean,
don't
like,
need
yeah,
anything
I'm talking like
fancy.
$300-400, for a good laptop. Because it
Yeah.
depends, like with what you're doing now, other things could create more tech involvement, but I would recommend uh, a multi-stream service. You can probably get one for $20 a month, and then you can when you go live, it'd be Facebook and YouTube. That's and
Okay.
if you have a second Facebook group, you can actually get 3, I think, on the first tier. That's a pretty good
Okay.
thing. That's
Okay.
pretty cool to use too, because with that you can also play videos, music, You can do some things, screen share. There's some things you can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be glad to help you there. And
Awesome.
I would certainly be open to coming on your show. I like to go on people's shows.
Oh, fantastic. I would love that, Todd. That's so
Yeah.
great. I would
Yeah,
love
I would
that.
love to. I'd love to do it. I'd like to do more of that. I used to do some of it, and then I got away from it. But I'd like to do that because I do want to. Yeah, I don't always want to sit in this chair. I feel like
No,
I can offer. I can be a pretty good guest, I think, and so I
oh,
would love to do it, and I
you would
just
be a
love to be
you would be a
part of that too.
fantastic guest.
Yeah, and then we
No,
can
no,
get
I would absolutely love it. And I loved our connection. Like I'd really like to be on here again sometime. So,
absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
I,
And again, people are going to hear me talking about this more and more, and I'm probably going to put something out in the next 24 hours. I'm really looking for people that want to build their own show on the network that are serious. We have the tech knowledge, we have, and we have a lot of things, but it really all starts with the creative, and each one of us is a fractal, and we can create different consciousnesses, with our expressions, and it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I'm probably going to be a little bit more specific, but anyone that would like to have, like, say, a weekly show or a show every 2 weeks that will show up every time, and that something they might want to try that's original and unique and maybe has some of their soul signature in it, or just something they want to give it a shot. I mean, this has always been a place where everything goes, so.
well, I would definitely be interested in that. So keep me in mind for that story.
Okay. And yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna come out, and I'm also gonna probably email people as well, and just kind of see what comes back. I have a feeling there'll be a lot of people respond. Our first goal here, which has been shown to me for a long time, and I talked about it for a long time, talking my foot in the mouth so many times, is really actually getting close now, which is going to be a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week channel running, and a lot of that will be live in the moment. So yeah, I feel like there's something to it. It doesn't make any sense, they go from 130,000 people to 400 plus people, but the guidance, the universe is telling me this is what we've been getting to the whole time. So it's just my piece. It's our piece. It's our piece, because
It's
Soulogy is
really
not mine.
exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I'll let
It's
you know
really
that.
exciting.
So I'm going to get
Yeah.
you the copy of the show that's editable, so you can do any changes you want. And I'll get that to you so you can put it out on social media. By the way, everybody knows we give that to all of our guests. So most of them put it out there. You won't, I guess everybody here is in here. This will be people outside of social media. They're like, we didn't get to see it. But this other thing I'll get you is this lady's name. That she is a really genuine sister. I know her and her sister have that place up there, because I know it's either in Syracuse or just south of Syracuse. So
Okay.
I think
Sounds great.
yeah, I'll get you that information. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Same
I really,
here, Todd.
yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us, and all blessings to you and your two beautiful sons. And we'll do it again. We'll do it again later in the year.
Yes, yes. Let me know anytime. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Todd. I appreciate you, and thanks for doing the work. And yeah, I'm gonna keep doing the work too.
I know you are. All right. You take care. I'll connect with you. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
sounds good, Todd.
Thank you.